Hello, hello, hello! Today we'll be playing Chapter 3 of Tally Ho. The music playing in the background is called Talkies by Humma Humma. Just some nice smooth jazz. And with that, let's begin. Okay, Chapter 3, Ritornello. Oh, let me just check to see the sound. Yep, sound looks okay. You exit the train, relieved that you are on time. You collect your luggage from the baggage car, and head towards the cab stand. The platform is rather crowded, and you push your way past large families on holiday and tourists who, for some reason, wish to consult their guidebooks about some architectural feature on the station. You are just beginning to ponder pleasant thoughts of the visit to come when you hear someone calling you your name, and you look around trying to figure out where the sound is coming from. I just wanted to switch views, almost forgot. Emerging from behind a smoke screen of exhaust from a departing train, you see a figure walking towards you, coughing and gesturing to get your attention. Who is this unassuming and impressionable person carrying a bright green pear and a bulging picnic basket, nearly jumping up and down with excitement as they approach you? A slightly built manservant in livery. You are hailed by this young man eagerly. "Are you Brown?" he calls, in a strong Gloucestershire accent. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm here to greet you." He takes a bite of the pear. You slow down to see who this new addition to the cast is. You are relatively familiar with most of the old hands at Aunt Primrose's, and are certain that you've never seen him before. "I'm Valentine," he says, bowing his head deferentially as you approach. You cast a trained eye over his uniform, a tailcoat and striped mustard and pearl grey waistcoat, noting with professional detachment that it is slightly threadbare. "It's an honor to meet you. You're right on time." "Were you sent from Mrs. Patterson's house?" "Nope, I was sent by the Canterbury Club. This is my very first job. I was just hired on at Miss Primrose Patterson's estate." "Indeed?" "Yes, I am her new footman. But I'm going to work really hard, and someday I'm going to be a real gentleman's gentleman. I know I can do it." Valentine looks at you with eyes of innocence as you attempt to formulate a response, and then before you do, he hits you with the crucial bit of information. "You have been assigned as my mentor, and I think it's part of your test for admission into the inner circle." The Cadbury Club, as you well know, the most elite club for servants, populated solely by those for whom immaculate service is the way of life. The Inner Circle is an almost legendary club within a club, rumored to be composed solely of the most respected members of the Cadbury Club. You have, of course, imagined yourself being elected to that august society, but hardly dreamed that it might come to pass. You have heard it said as well that there are different tests and challenges that the Inner Circle use to test their prospective members. It would appear then that you are being considered for the inclusion of the Inner Circle, with all the prestige that would entail. The Cadbury Club is meant to be like the Ganymede Club. The Ganymede Club being the Gentleman's Club in Jeeves and Wooster, which this game is most definitely inspired by, which I like. But why me? Why now? Wonderful, glad to meet you, Valentine. Valentine looks unbelievably pleased. I have heard stories about you, he says, studying his shoes, a flush clearly coming over his face. Oh, do tell. People say that you are so knowledgeable and generally quite kind. I'm going to work really hard to be as good as you. It's all I ever wanted in life. I suppose, in some great sense, I can understand how I might assist you to improve your skills and someday become a valet. In principle, what precisely am I to do? Oh, right, I was supposed to give you this. He hands you an envelope sealed with wax and bearing the crest of your club, the Cadbury Club for Those Who Serve. It's a letter of introduction. You open the letter, and on official Cadbury stationery, you read a missive confirming that Valentine has indeed been sent by the inner club to test you. Valentine is described as a promising young man who needs guidance and a role model. The letter stresses that you will be evaluated following Valentine's apprenticeship to you, which will last for 1 month. The letter further notes that Valentine is to be instructed in whatever you deem most important for a servant to be trained in. Well, everything here seems to be in order. What do you want me to do first? Valentine says, throwing the paracord away. I'm ready. Go and wash your hands while I hire a cab. Your hands are sure to be sticky. Oh, of course. I'm sorry. That was careless of me. Valentine rushes into the station and emerges shortly, looking a little abashed, but no less eager. You, meanwhile, have already hired a cab and loaded the bags onto it. Don't forget your picnic basket, you say, pointing. Oh yes, I nearly forgot. Valentine heaves it into the back seat of the cab, saying, Upsy daisy? Don't say upsy daisy. Whoops, sorry. You and Valentine slide into the back of the cab with the picnic basket between you. I packed us a lunch, Valentine says. I wanted to bring you something to thank you in advance for taking me under your wing. I know it's awkward. I don't know what kind of food you like, so I packed a little bit of everything. You watch as Valentine opens the basket and points out the various lunch items in it. I packed a lot of finger sandwiches and pickled vegetables and charred peppers stuffed with buttered breadcrumbs, and some hard cheese and a bottle of cider. Do you like marinated eggplant? I also have some of that and some baguette and jam, and for dessert, you're going to really like this, some lovely cream puffs. I hope we can just feast here in the cab. I suppose we can just feast here in the cab. This is making me hungry. It looks extraordinarily delicious, but it also looks rather messy and potentially the sort of food that might leave a lingering aroma. He tries to judge from your expression whether or not you are pleased. It looks so lovely, Valentine. I'm afraid I ate on the train. Oh no, says Valentine, frowning. I should have written to tell you not to. I do appreciate the thought. Oh no, Valentine repeats. That was rather stupid of me. Perhaps we can bring it down to the kitchen and you can share it with the men and women who will soon be your co-workers. A nice gift might help you make friends right away. I made this for you, says Valentine, playing with the handle of the basket. But you give me good advice. I will do as you say. But Valentine looks unhappy. As you ride along, you talk with Valentine, learning a bit about him. He speaks at length about his 6 brothers at the Cotswolds, where he grew up. It was expected that Valentine would work at his parents' sweet shop. However, after his parents' illness, Valentine had to provide for the family, and found his way to the city, taking on a few temporary, short-term positions to learn the trade, and joining the Junior Canterbury Club, where he was nominated as most promising. As you talk, Valentine turns his face up to you, looking into your eyes artlessly. I want to apologize if I'm mucking things up, Brown. I'm a little flustered, and I'm not sure what I'm doing. There is no need to apologize, you say. Well, good, Valentine says. Good. I'm very excited to start, you know. That is obvious. 20 minutes later, you approach the grounds of Rottenello, and ritornello, and the world becomes filled with color as you take in it the astonishing palette that autumn has painted the world with. Dark plum, fiery orange, and scarlet everywhere, dotted here and there with russets, pumpkin pie, orange brown, and a deeper gingerbread brown. Even from inside the cab, you fancy that you can hear the rustling of the leaves, all dancing slightly in the wind. Valentine sits next to you, studying your posture and trying to mimic the way you are sitting. He straightens up and folds his hands in his lap. I was just wondering, Valentine says, what would you say the most important part of being a good valet is for you? I mean, what's the most important thing for me to work on? An excellent question. I would say the most important thing is... No, we're not going to go with one. Solving problems on your own without bothering your employer. I'm gonna get a drink of water. There we go. That makes a lot of sense, says Valentine. I'm still working on that. I just feel like it's important to check in with my employer when something unexpected comes up. Novices often do feel that way, but this skill is what distinguishes a great servant from a merely tolerable one. One's employer hires one in order to make life smoother, to have someone to remove obstacles in their path before the obstacle can prove a stumbling block. I think I understand. And therefore, you say, speaking with some gusto, you must never rest. You must watch out for all opportunities to make life just a bit easier. That is what you will do when someday you ascend to the lofty heights of becoming a valet. But even in your relatively lowly current position, you will no doubt have many opportunities to remove problems on your own initiative. I see, Valentine thinks for a while, but surely there must be times when your employer, despite all of your work, contrives to make his or her life difficult. Oh my, yes, you say. Try as you may to solve their problems, they will often manage to create more. Tell me, what do you do then? What do you respond? Well, we don't want to get in trouble in the future, so I cannot tell you anything specific, but I will give you the broad outlines, I say, knowing that it may be somewhat more difficult to either amuse or instruct Valentine in that way. Oh, all right. I'm eager to hear any information at all that you think will help. You recall an incident in which Rory and his cousin Mopsy became convinced that they needed to break into Aunt Primrose's dresser drawer in order to win a foolish wager, and Rory ended up nearly falling out of a third-story window. How? Using assumed names and claiming this happened to a former employer, you tell the story, although it is, of course, difficult to both tell a lively story and remember to hide telltale details to protect those you are talking about. Valentine listens, quite interested. What is the goal in telling this story? To offer some memorable tips to aid Valentine in his remembering proper behavior. A good story can help one to remember proper behavior, and you are determined to craft your narrative such that Valentine remembers how best to respond in a crisis. You can see as you speak that you have utterly captured Valentine's imagination, and he gasps and nods at all the right places. By the end, you are convinced that you may have taught Valentine a number of valuable lessons that will not soon be forgotten about the nature of proper service. Aunt Primrose's estate is surrounded by a massive by massive oak trees dressed in vivid lemon yellows, with just a few red-brown oak leaves dotting the ground to mildly suggest that this beauty might come to an end someday, but not soon. The cab stops at the green gates, announcing that this is Ritornello, where two servants bar the way. They examine the cab carefully, presumably ensuring that Figs is not hiding in the back seat, and then you wave through. The cab curves around the great circular driveway with a white marble statue in the center of it in the shape of the goddess Minerva emerging from Jupiter's forehead. You pay the fellow over Valentine's objections and are about to collect the luggage when you hear someone running from behind you, and then the world goes dark. "Guess who?" calls a high-pitched and giggling voice. "Guess, Brown." Helen of Troy. "Mopsy?" "You guessed it," she shouts, releasing you. You turn to see her clapping and nearly jumping for joy. Mopsy is looking lovely as ever in a twirly pink and purple floral chiffon dress with a large floppy bow at the neck and 6 big cloth-covered buttons down the front. Her hair is somewhat wild, an explosion of curls and tendrils. She is flushed, probably from charging at you from behind. She appears as sweet as can be. You know, however, from past experience that Mopsy can be difficult to take in more than small doses, but you will give her the benefit of the doubt. Oh, thank you for the message. Thank you, Shrieking Bard. Welcome to the stream, everyone. I've reached chapter 3 of Tally Ho now, so we're just reaching the manor now. Hi, Tav. This is Tally Ho. It's a video game that's heavily inspired by Jeeves and Wooster, so it's a lot of fun for me. It's basically a butler simulator. Sorry I can't stay around for a long time, but wanted to say hi. Oh, no problem. Thank you for dropping by. You know, however, from past experience that Mopsy can be difficult to take in more than small doses, but you will give her the benefit of seeing whether she has learned to master her more annoying tendencies. You see Valentine directing some of Aunt Primrose's help to take the luggage up to Mr. Wintermint's room. For a moment you consider whether Valentine needs help, but soon realize that Mopsy will not book any distractions. "Oh, Brown, Brown, Brown," she says, "I can't believe you're here. I just can't believe it. You're here at last." "I am. And we'll spend ever so much time together." Yeah, I know, right? Like, how did I not know this? Yeah, I had that same reaction when I found out about this. I found out through the Tumblr tag for Jeeves and Wooster on Tumblr, because someone was playing through it and screenshotted it, and I was like, where is this from? And then I checked the tags and I found out there's a game called Tally Ho. It's by Craig Segal, and he's also working on or has released a sequel to this, which I'm really excited to play as well. I haven't played it yet. The demo's out for it, and I plan on playing it once I finish my playthrough of this one. Valentine clears his throat. "I think I will go ahead with the luggage and make my presence known to the household staff. I will see you soon, Brown, and thank you for your company." You bid Valentine farewell, and Mopsy waves her hands in increasingly large circles to get your attention. Did you happen to see dear Figaro on your journey?" She looks up at you with large liquid eyes, and her lower lip starts to quiver. Yeah, this would be fun to replay, honestly, because there's so many choices in it. It's an interactive fiction, so you can do things very differently. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, Tasty doing the voices would be amazing. That would be great. We need to let him know sometime. Yeah, the great thing about text-based games is that you can, because of the lack of visuals, you can change things and make... You can change, like, the gender of the characters. Like, it'll say, you know, you meet Valentine, and I had a choice of whether Valentine was a maid or a butler, and stuff like that. And I imagine that would be very difficult. That would be more challenging if you had art assets for all of the characters, because you'd have to basically redo them for each choice. So the lack of that... Oh, yep. That's more or less right, Tav. Like, it's Tusky, so it's like Tuski, so it's like and then skiing. Valentine clears his throat. I will go ahead with the luggage and make my presence known to the household staff. I will see you soon, Brown, and thank you for your company. You bid Valentine farewell, and... Oh wait, where am I? Oh yeah, she's asking me if, her boyfriend Figaro, if I met him, which I did. I did see the gentleman in question. I believe he goes by Figs among his friends, Mopsy says, and a tear starts to swell and roll. Indeed. Did he mention me? In fact... We're not gonna lie. I think this is a good choice. He spoke of you with obvious affection and longing. Of course, he says comfortably. I would expect he speaks of nothing else. I feel terrible of him, and I feel terrible of myself. I'm like a bird in... What is that thing that birds are in? Gilded cages? Yes, like a bird in a gilded cage, but I know you will free me, Brown. You will help me... you will help us be together, for who can stand in the way of true love? Jigme Datsei says, I'm supposed to be working, I'm not working. Oh no! But thank you for dropping in. We just arrived at the mansion, so we're meeting the different people there. For who can stand in the way of true love? How exactly do you want me to help, you ask? Rory did seem to desire that Figs and Mopsy be united, but the situation appears rather difficult. I believe that your aunt is firmly opposed. I don't know, she says, and then begins to seriously weep, and without warning dives into your chest, moistening you considerably. How do you respond? Help her put this all in historical perspective. No, I don't think that'll help. I simply hold her and pat her head back parentally. You say nothing at all, you just hug her and rock back and forth slightly, there on the lawn while she cries. It takes a long time and several handkerchiefs worth of sobbing and shrieking before she calms down enough to go on. No words were exchanged, but she knows you understand. You are here for her now, at the moment of crisis, and you will be here for her, come what may. She looks up at you and finally speaks. I couldn't do this without you, Brown. I think I was waiting for you to get here to have that cry. Now it's all out. Now I'm myself again. A look of frightening determination crosses her face, but she immediately resettles into the innocent visage you know so well. I am happy that I could be here for you. Mostly wanted to see if I've gotten past this or not. I'm getting weird flashes, and I think it's how the game is working on your system. Yeah, I think that is something to do with my recording device, because when I scroll, a weird effect seems to happen, so I'm trying not to scroll unless I really need to. But for some reason it's causing this weird flickering, hopefully I can reduce it further if I maybe use the mouse to scroll instead of the mouse wheel. Maybe that will help. We'll try that. Because I do want to reduce that. I am happy that I could be here for you. Can we talk later? Always, Mopsy. She wipes her eyes and nose and then, gathering her equilibrium, walks into the house. As Mopsy's problems have been dealt with, for the moment anyway, you decide it would be best to find Rory and let him know that you have arrived. You walk into the house, glad to finally be here. Carlington, Aunt Primrose's imposing butler, greets you with a slight inclination of the head. How do you do, Brown? Good to see you, Carlington. You will find Mr. Wintermint staying in the oak room on the second floor, third door on the left. Thank you, Clarington. Your suitcases are just there by the art gallery. You may wish to take them upstairs. Certainly. Oh, the art gallery. We have to do a thing for that, I remember. Also, I like how, it remembers that mansions would often have rooms that were named after themes, like the oak room. I remember in Jeeves and Wooster, Bertie was given the clock room at one point in an episode. Just little details like that I like. You leave Carlington and walk across the main hall to the art gallery at the end of the corridor. Aunt Primrose's art gallery is a sunny display area for the various paintings, etchings, and sculptures she has collected over the years. Your suitcases are piled unceremoniously at the center of the room. You shake your head, reminding yourself to teach Valentine the importance of bringing the luggage straight up to the room. You start to lift the suitcases when you notice the sealed tube with Figgs's awful portrait of Aunt Primrose in it. You consider it for a moment. You told Figgs that you would take it, but noted that you ought to ask Rory for instructions before putting it up on the wall. However, you feel confident that, if asked, Rory would probably tell you to do anything that you feel would help Figgs and Mopsy get together. I really don't want to do the painting thing because I feel like something's gonna go wrong. But this is a good window of opportunity because it's there, we're here, the painting's there, like, will we get this chance later? But I'm gonna ask Rory. I know Rory will. Oh no, I'm gonna ask Rory. I'm gonna go up to Rory and ask him what he wants me to do with the painting. As you mentioned to Figgs, you will be leaving the decision to Rory. You tote all of the luggage upstairs, the painting tube under one arm, and locate the oak room, certainly one of the most luxurious of the guest suites in Ritornello. Rory likes its east-facing patio, and that is where you find him, looking out at the world, picking at a plate of sliced apples and berries, and sipping a ginger ale. I have arrived, sir. And perfectly punctual as usual. All went well with the train? You clear your throat. I shall inform you of the specifics of my travels if you wish, but before that, is there a piece of business? Oh, there is a piece of business I must inform you. Oh? You produced the painting tube. I have here in this tube a painting made by your friend Figgs, whom I met on the journey. You don't say. Rory opens the tube and starts to remove the contents. He implored me to take it and asked that I hang it in your aunt's art gallery. He seemed to think that seeing his artwork in that context would make her see his true value as an artist and possible match for Mopsy. It seemed a far-fetched plan. And you said? I told him that I needed to consult you before accepting or rejecting his offer. It seemed the thing to do. I suppose so. Rory says, sighing. I suppose old Figs does need our help, but I'm not certain that this plan is the finest heir of his invention, as it were. That was similar to my train of thought, you say. Well, that's a thin slice of figs, Rory chuckles, taking a sip of ginger ale. Now, before you unroll that portrait... But it is too late. Upon seeing the ghastly portrait, Rory spits out the mouthful of ginger ale all over it. My God, Brown, Rory says, dropping the liquid-flecked painting. I know, sir. What is it? It is intended to be a representation of your aunt, sir. No. What would you like me to do with it? Down the hall, in the library, there's a good fire raging. Burn it utterly and then collect the ashes and burn them as well. Then disinfect your hands with bleach and lyre and return at once. You take the portrait, crumple it into a ball, head down the hall towards the library, a hall decorated with a number of large, expensive-looking blue and white Ming Dynasty urns, nearly as tall as you are. You are nearly there when Colonel Firesnuff exits the library and calls to you. Oh, it's you, he says. Isn't this a mildly pleasant surprise? Yes, if I might step into the library, but he doesn't move. What have you got there? That moist piece of paper. You put your hand behind your back. What piece of paper? That piece of paper that was in your hand. No, I don't believe I have or had a piece of paper. I think I would know. It is perplexing to me why you would lie about having a piece of paper in your hand. It seems almost suspicious. You are a very suspicious person. Something about your physiognomy. But that is neither here nor there. I demand to see what is in your other hand. Okay, I have a feeling we shouldn't say this top one. I stealthily drop the painting into one of the big decorative urns. You drop the canvas into the big urn behind you. You then show your hands and put on an innocent air. You wound me gravely, Colonel Firesnuff, you say. What did you just drop into that urn? I heard something fall. Into the what? What are you on about, Colonel? Why would I drop anything into an urn? The idea is laughable. Don't play games with me. You clearly dropped something in there. Stolen goods, no doubt. Stand aside and let me examine the situation. He shoulders you aside, and you stands on tiptoe so he can see inside the heavy urn. There now. Are we taller than him? There now. I see something. Blast it. I can't quite reach it. This is nonsense, Colonel Firesnuff, you protest. It's nothing. He straightens up, red-faced and luckily empty-handed. I suspect you of theft or worse. It is written all over your face. I would wring the truth out of you, but I am a guest in this house. Therefore I shall go and inform Primrose that you are a criminal. She will, no doubt, turn you out at once. He storms away, and you follow closely behind. Imagine being the lady of this house, and one of your guests, a colonel, comes up to you and says, look here, I think your aunt's butler is a criminal. What would you even say? Oh dear. Colonel Firesnuff bursts in upon Aunt Primrose in her drawing room, where she is having a cup of tea with Mopsy. You follow closely behind. Primrose, shouts Colonel Firesnuff, I just found this ruffian in your house following the dictates of his black heart. Aunt Primrose looks up, sets her tea on the table, and stands up, frowning at Colonel Firesnuff. What are you talking about, Firesnuff? She says. This is Brown, my nephew's valet. I've known him for years. Mopsy says nothing, but looks on with some interest. Regardless, I saw what I saw, says Colonel Firesnuff. And what did you see or think you saw? Brown was messing around with one of your priceless urns upstairs near your library, dropping things into it. probably sending coded messages back and forth or smuggling. Primrose snorts and looks at you. Well, Brown, this is a fairly serious accusation. What do you have to say in response to this charge? Deny everything. Will Mopsy take one for the team? Well, we know Aunt Primrose likes us, so let's go with number 2. I appeal to my long-standing relationship with Aunt Primrose. Mrs. Patterson, I ask you to look into your heart. Think on our long-standing acquaintance. Is that the sort of mischief that I would become involved in? Mopsy leaps off the sofa and throws her arms around you. Brown is right, Auntie, she cries. Brown would never be a criminal, you silly man, she says, turning a glare at the Colonel. You are wrong, 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 and you mustn't say such things about Brown. You didn't see what I saw, Colonel Firesnuff responds. You give Mopsy a smile, and she gracefully takes her seat again. Aunt Primrose considers Mopsy's words, and looks deeply into your soul, even holding up her lorgnette to peer at you. It's the opera eyeglasses, I believe. I am an honest soul. I think of how I found your lost earring all those years ago. Don't listen to a word Brown says, Primrose counsels Colonel Firesnuff. It's sheer manipulation. It was in the coral ashtray, she finishes. Yes, you have always been a wonderful valet for Rory, and a comfort to me in my old age, etc. Firesnuff, enough is enough. I'm tired of this nonsense. It's time for fox hunting. Brown, go get Rory dressed. Dismissed. I suppose I must defer to your judgment, says Colonel Firesnuff glumly. For now. Which reminds me of a story about the time I fought a duel on the brink of a volcano in the Hawaiian Islands. What were you doing? But you don't stay to hear more. You go back upstairs to the oak room. Has the matter been taken care of successfully, Rory says, as you step in and close the door. For the moment, sir, you say. There may be a few loose ends to tie up later, but for the moment, all is well. Glad to hear it. Now, let us talk while you prepare my person for public consumption. My fox hunting outfit, if you please. How was your trip? The trip went reasonably well. Rory places 2 cushions into the divan and lies down with his feet on the cushions, hands folded under his head. Tell me about your journey. Omit no detail, however slight. Well, to the untrained eye, Rory seems content. Your long years with him and your trained eye leads you to the conclusion that Rory is in fact ill. Restless and anxious are the words that come to mind. There are, of course, many ways to tell the tale of your recent train trip. You could try to make it a tale of dashing adventure, emphasizing your personal prowess and keen wit. You could offer amusing anecdotes, entertaining Rory with all of your absurd encounters, making the narrative as witty as possible, trying to make Rory laugh. Another option could be to offer an instructive lecture, or perhaps you might offer a relatively tame version of your trip in order to relax Rory. Well, Rory's restless and anxious, so try to ease his mind. Rory does not need to hear every single detail of your journey. He would ask too many questions and be concerned about matters that need not be bothered with. Better to give a high-level overview and leave it at that. You describe in highly general terms your encounters with the colorful and perplexing haze vermilion, the hapless figs, the irascible Colonel Firesnuff, and your sudden trainee, young Valentine. And that is all? Nothing further to report? This would not be much if it were in the gossip column. I have been anticipating something juicy, a bit of local color. Rory puts his hands to his temples and begins to massage them. Funny, you mentioned a haze vermilion. I have some passing familiarity with the vermilions. From Northumberland, I believe. If I remember, back then he called himself Hazelnut Vermilion. I know the family slightly, but it was some years ago, although it sounds as though he has changed. I assume you refer to a singular appearance. Rory shrugs. As far as my memory goes, he was a quiet, shy, and retiring sort. People do change, though. Shy and retiring would not accurately describe Hayes. I do believe that he will be at the fox hunt, so I suppose I can see his striking coiffure for myself. Although I can't for the life of me imagine how he wrangled an invite from Auntie. As Rory talks, you think about Hayes. It's so strange. You only interacted with him for a short time, but something about him made your experience with him such a prominent part of your trip here. As you consider what to tell Rory, a question nags at you. Although all rules of property and class would forbid such fraternization, do you find yourself attracted to Hayes? Hayes would be a charming and intriguing friend. Naturally, you are wholly different stations, so true friendship would be highly unlikely, but there is something about him that you find fascinating. Rory suddenly jumps up. Oh, Brown, I just remembered. What about the birthday gift for Aunt Primrose? Rory looks through the luggage in search of it. Regarding the birthday gift in question, you say, I have secured the Peridot hair stick. You remove the hair stick from your jacket. Wonderful, Rory says, taking it over to the window and examining it in the light. No trouble at all getting it? Oh, what am I talking about? What could go wrong simply walking into a store and purchasing an item that had been laid aside for one? You both share a merry chuckle. Oh, if only he knew. Most successful, Brown. I look forward to the sparkle in her eyes when I present it to her in front of all assembled. They all shall say, there is a nephew who loves his aunt, and Aunt Primrose shall shower love and devotion on me. Undoubtedly, sir. Good show, Brown. I'm going to drink some more water. Okay. You work to ensure that Rory looks acceptable, but Rory keeps pacing around. Nearly time, Brown. Time to face the family and friends and so forth. Must be at my best, you know. Of course, if you would kindly... A man must look his best. Rory gnaws at a fingernail and begins to muss his hair. For such an important occasion where I would prefer to be is at home. I'm picturing a beverage with ice and some sort of action-adventure novel. Perhaps I'll do some jumping jacks to use up some excess nervous energy. That is a relatable mood, Rory. Sir, I really must ask you to stand still at once if you would like to be properly dressed. Oh, I suppose you will have your way, won't you, Brown? So be it. Do your worst upon my person. Rory looks annoyed, but stops moving around. At least you can complete dressing him more efficiently now. To put the finishing touches on Rory's outfit, making minute adjustments to ensure that he looks to his best advantage. The result, if you do say so yourself, is certainly an improvement. Rory strikes various poses in front of the mirror, admiring himself in his dark green wool tweed hacking jacket with a houndstooth pattern, a crisp pair of cream-colored breeches and dark brown boots complete the outfit. The 3 buttons, of course, remain closed during the hunt, sir, you note. Naturally, Rory says, adjusting his tie and accepting his top hat from you. What do you think? How do I look? You look wonderful, sir. I realize it now. I love him. You look wonderful, sir. Well, you don't sound particularly enthusiastic about it, Rory says, but then you are used to my effect. Those who haven't seen me for a while are sure to faint or scream. Let me straighten your hat, sir, you say. To have something to say. You stand there, birds singing sweetly outside, face to face with Rory as you touch his hair and adjust his hat. Rory talks about something, you have no idea what. All you can hear is your heartbeat, your pulse rushing in your ears. I stoically straighten the hat and escort Rory downstairs. Perfect, sir. Shall we head downstairs? We shall, Rory says, looking at you quizzically. Rory looks for a moment as if he wants to ask you something, then looks puzzled, and then opens the door. Standing there is Carlington, Aunt Primrose's butler, holding a tray of drinks. Ah, says the butler, I was just coming to see if you are ready, Mr. Wintermint. They are assembling outside. Thank you, Carlington. You and Rory walk down the stairs, talking of this and that. The great front hall of Rottenello is busier than when you entered. Assorted servants are rushing about making preparations for the feast to come. Footmen bearing wicker cornucopias full of sunflowers, orange dahlias, and pied red and yellow daisies for centerpieces shimmer past, preparing the dinner table for the evening's repast. As you cross the hall, you notice a gray-haired woman in a simple black dress standing in the doorway of the billiard room. The keys at her waist mark her as Aunt Primrose's housekeeper, in charge of the upstairs, and second only to Carlington the butler. She must be new. Aunt Primrose does go through housekeepers. She catches your eye as you pass. I beg your pardon, Brown, but I have some important questions to ask you. If you won't object, would you come this way? She motions to the billiard room. I'm about to head out to the hunt, you say. This will just take a moment, she says. You look towards Rory. He has become engaged in an animated conversation with Carlington, and probably wouldn't notice if you slipped away for a moment. You follow her into the billiard room. I am Regina. Regina Wilhelmina, she says after shutting the door firmly. We don't have much time, so I will be efficient. Take a seat by the fire, and I will sit at the window seat, facing another direction. If either of us senses danger, I work the phrase moray eel into the conversation. Do you understand? I understand. Let us begin. Good, she says. I appreciate your willingness to take instruction. Naturally, you say, all poise. Now you may call me Mrs. Regina Wilhelmina in this professional setting, but you should be aware that it may become necessary to use code names. I am Midnight Thorn. Just so, and I shall call you Dandelion. Actually, I prefer Shadowstell. Actually, I think Cupcakes would be a better pseudonym. We can make up our own as well. Possibly, so long as she doesn't say no. Okay, we'll go with Dandelion, like in The Witcher. Glad you like it. I picked it out myself for you. I still have no idea what we're talking about, you say. Of course not, Dandelion. You have many questions. They always do. Now what exactly are we talking about? I am terribly bewildered, you say, as Regina jots a few notes. Yes, I suppose you will need to be debriefed, Dandelion. You are, I assume, quite familiar with the Cadbury Club. Of course, that's the club I'm a member of. The Cadbury Club for those who serve, the most exclusive organization for servants in the world. Then surely you have heard of the Cadbury Club Inner Circle. I assume this is related to Valentine's testing of me for the inner circle. She swings around and looks at you. Valentine? Who is Valentine? What are you talking about? Uh-oh. A young man gave me this letter of introduction from the inner circle today. You hand the letter to Regina Midnight Thorn, and she reads it quickly. Then she pulls out a small book and looks back and forth between the letter and the book for a while. No, it's inauthentic, I believe, she says at last, tearing the letter up. An imposter. But what would that mean? A double agent, perhaps? What on earth is going on, you say? Let me begin at the beginning, then, although I am rather shaken up by news of an enemy agent placed among us. She sits taller in her seat. Now listen carefully. The Cadbury Club Inner Circle is for the most elite members, for those in service who have attained the peak of their position. Yes, so the new members say in hushed voices. You imagine what your peers would say if they knew that you were being considered. You are being considered for admission into the inner circle and are being evaluated for your suitability. No, let's not try to bribe her. Yes, that is consistent with what Valentine told me. She briefly sucks in air through her teeth and looks for a moment a little like an angry mongoose. This Valentine knows too much. Possibly we will need to eliminate him. You can't mean. It would be a last resort. For now, you need to act naturally. Don't let Valentine know that you know. And for heaven's sake, keep your identity as Dandelion secret. You hear the yowling of the hounds outside, and Aunt Primose's booming voice crying out that all must assemble outside the front door at once, on pain of her displeasure. Our time is limited, says Regina, but you should know that there is a serious problem brewing, and I will need your help. I have reason to believe there is an evildoer here at Ritornello who means to do Aunt Primrose some serious harm. It is not yet clear to me whether it is a foreign agent or some sort of maniacal saboteur. No. I'm afraid so, Dandelion. I will need you to join me on a subtle and time-sensitive mission. You may be able to assist me. How you do so is up to you. You might find an excuse to leave the hunt and make your way back here so that you can thoroughly search the guest rooms to look for compromising information. Or, if you prefer, you could remain with the hunt and shrewdly interrogate the guests to discover if they have any malicious motives. She taps her chin. It would also be rather useful to have a thorough investigation of this Valentine character. I am most concerned. I suppose if the opportunity comes up, you might do that in addition to your primary objective. What do you say? Let's do some snooping. I will make my way back here and search the rooms. I like the detective elements in this. Excellent, she says. Be on the lookout for hidden panels, incriminating documents, and disguise kits. Those are usually the signs of a villain. Or an agent. It's good. Then, after you have made your searches, we shall meet and compare conclusions. This is a promising start for you, Dandelion. She peeks out of the door to ensure that nobody is near. Wait 10 seconds before exiting, she says, and then she leaves. You count 10 and then follow, heading out the front door to join Rory and the others. All have assembled outside, and the white horses are being brought out and assigned to guests. Traditionally, there would be a master of the hunt, but Aunt Primrose, a very keen hunter since she was a young woman, has taken that responsibility upon herself. As a group of 6 servants in hunting outfits bring a pack of eager hounds out of the kennels, Aunt Primrose talks to each of the dogs, stroking them and inquiring whether or not they are ready to catch a fox. Colonel Firestaff talks to Mopsy, who is yawning without attempting to hide it, as he tells her about his adventures spelunking in Becuna Land. Rory is talking about Carlington to the butler, and a man in a trench coat with a police badge pinned to it. who listens closely to Rory and scribbles furiously in a small notebook with the words clue on the front. Clues on the front. Like my notebook. But hopefully mine doesn't say clues on the front. Because people are going to notice eventually. The detective looks up as you arrive. Inspector Ambrose, he says, nice to meet you. You must be Brown. No, don't ask how I figured it out. Deduction, science of detecting, you know. I am here in a professional capacity to find and bring to justice the infamous sneak thief, Light-Fingered Blue. Not to be confused with Soapy Sid. He pauses and studies your features for a long time before nodding slowly and tapping his chin. Soapy Sid from Jeeves and Wooster, who is the jewel thief. We will now have the customary glass of wine before setting out, Aunt Primrose says, fairly skipping with excitement. Everyone join me over here by the fountain. We shall all drink to the success of our hunt and enjoy a slice of cake in honor of my birthday. The fountain is a patinized bronze sculpture of Sir Francis Drake. Oh, Sir Francis Drake, holding a spyglass to his eye. The sculpture has been poorly cast, and the left side of Sir Francis's face aligns unevenly with the right side. Sparkling water flows out of the lopsided spyglass and into a basin held by the personifications of fortitude and temperance. It often comes up in conversations between you and Rory whether each of you wishes to reach for a reference point for something unbelievably ugly. The funny thing I like is this reminds me of a scene from The Terror of St. Trinian's book where one of the girls in it, because it's set in an all-girls boarding school, but there's a scene there's this tradition of personifying ideas into people, kind of like ancient Greek mythology, but there's a scene where one of the students rides a horse, and she rides the horse through a giant stained glass window. And you don't get to see it, but they describe in the narration that the stained glass window depicts Prudence introducing Grace to civic consciousness, and I have no idea what that looks like. But in my head it's funny. So we're just about to start the hunt, so I think now is a good time to stop. So we're going to stop. But thank you very much for coming. Hopefully I can continue this playthrough later. And I will see you then. Ta-ra!